Alright guys, welcome back to another Road to Platinum video. As you guys can see, I got the Platinum for the Division. So if you guys don't know how these videos work, I'm going to talk about my experience with the Platinum and give a review on the game. The Division is an online action role-playing game that came out in March of 2016. The Division has you taking on the role of a Division agent. You are tasked to take back New York from the corresponding warlords and to help create a vaccine for the virus. You will have to travel all across Manhattan and take on different groups of enemies and different rogue agents. There are multiple factions such as Cleaners, Rikers, and the Last Man Battalion. There are many more, but these are the main few you see often. Let's start off with the Platinum part of the video. So the Platinum took me 79 hours, which is insane. This is by far, other than Fallout 76, this is my longest Platinum. As always, these Platinums can be completed faster and slower, and it all just depends on your playstyle. I prefer to actually just enjoy the world rather than going for the Platinum immediately with this game. This Platinum was fairly easy for me because I got majority of the trophies done years ago when the game first launched. So there's very few to actually clean up trophy-wise. I rate the Platinum difficulty with 10 being the hardest about a 5. There are definitely a few challenging trophies and very time-consuming trophies overall. So you have to beat one of the missions on challenging, and that's really hard if you're not in a group. So, yeah. If you guys do need help with any of the co-op or any of the other trophies, because you can play the entire game and do all the trophies co-op. So let me know in the comments down below though if you guys do need help. But that's about it when it comes to the Platinum part. The video part of the video, there's not really much to talk about. It's a very straightforward process. It's just very time consuming and kind of grindy towards the end, because you do have to get some pretty good weapons if you want to make this Platinum go by kind of fast. Let's start the review portion of the video now though. First off, let's start with the story. There's not much of a story, to be honest. The story that it has is pretty good, but it's not going to be your main focus in this game when it comes down to it. It's more of a looter shooter type RPG. The world itself was amazing though, and the lore that the collectibles and some of the missions set up is awesome. And it really makes the world feel alive and just feel super lived in. The gameplay overall is, at least for me, wait, what the fuck? Hold on, I'm reading my script and I have no idea what I wrote. The gameplay overall is, at least for me. What?
Hostile forces approaching.
Oh, the gameplay overall for me, getting up to level 30, it was a lot of just cover-to-cover shooting, because you're very weak, honestly, until you're level 30 and you can start equipping end-game material. But once you hit level 30, you really start getting into the end game and you feel like you can take on anything. So you really don't use cover as much as you used to, and you really just go in guns blazing. As you guys get, well, I mean, I'm using cover in the gameplay right now, but the reason I'm using that cover is because it actually will decrease the spread of my machine gun, rather than like when I'm normally shooting, the spread is widened. So that's why that's why I'm using cover a bunch. The gameplay itself is fairly simple too. You got grenades, different bullet types, so there's incendiary and explosive, and those will just incendiary will make it so that there's a status effect on the enemy, and explosive will actually help take down armor, I believe. There are also consumables to help you heal. There's soda, food, things like that. There are also 3 skills that you can have active at one time, but there's plenty of skills to be had. Like, there's plenty of skills. Each one does different things. There's shields, turrets, bombs, and many more. And there's also variants of each one. And then there's a super ability which will give you different stats effects for you and all your team members to get those. To get those ultimate abilities, but they're called signature abilities, I believe. You have to fully upgrade one tier of the base operations at least, and that'll unlock the corresponding ability. If you do all three, you get all three
Hostile forces
abilities.
approaching.
That's also how you get the other abilities,
Improvised
the smaller
explosive
ones,
device
like the
detected.
explosives, the turrets. You get all those through upgrading corresponding base of operations sections. And you can also get talents, which are like passive abilities. One more thing to note is health does not regen automatically, so you do need to use heals, and those are numbered. And in some cases, it is fairly hard to actually get more heals. So there's different ways of getting them. You can loot them off corpses, or you can go to the base operations and just use the restock, and it'll give you some heals. But it's good to know that it's not automatically regen, because if you do run out of them, you're screwed. Unless you're like a higher level and towards the end game. I mean, even in the end game though, I got wrecked a few times where I was just dead, and it surprised me because I was just chilling for so long. Like I would go like 7 hours of playtime without dying, and then I would die from something stupid like me not going to cover. Like one time I tried to roll, and I got stuck on cover, and it just fucked me, and I died. When it comes to the different loot you can get, of course, primary weapons, which is ARs, LMGs, SMGs, snipers, and shotguns. I think there's... No, that's the Division 2. I think that's all the categories then. Then there are secondaries, which is different styles of pistols and revolvers. The revolver's ass. Never use it. Then you have different gear for your character. There's holsters, knee pads, backpack, mask, and... Sorry. And then I think there's like a torso thing, a vest. Every weapon is customizable with magazines, muzzles, sights, and weapon skins. Also, each gear will ultimately upgrade 3 different things, which could be your firearms, which will increase your damage output. It could increase your toughness as well, which will overall increase your damage resistance, and then it could also increase your skill, which would increase the amount of damage that you deal with different skills. So you can really mix and match items to make a build of your choice, or you can make an all-around type of build. Also, you can hold up to 2 primary weapons all at one time, so you will be able to switch between 2 primaries, so AR and shotgun, AR sniper, LMG sniper, things like that. And you'll do that just by hitting triangle, and then if you double tap triangle, that'll actually swap to your pistol. And the pistol has unlimited ammo, so that's good to know in the end game, because you can get a really good pistol, and that could be all you use the entire end game. There's quite a bit of different story missions, and they can be played on multiple difficulties, which will really make the game harder. There's normal, hard, challenging, and legendary. Legendary is locked until you do certain things. I don't remember what they were exactly. Challenging and hard are usually your daily missions, so if you play them on that daily or on that difficulty and it says that they're a daily mission, you'll get a special daily crate that you can open, and that'll give you high tier loot. There are also side missions where you will need to either find a missing person, or there's like bounties and hostage situations as well. The bounties are actually fun. You have to take out 2 of the lieutenants for that bounty, and then you have to kill the bounty itself while you're facing off like 20 or 30 enemies. It gets pretty chaotic and it's super fun. There are also these things called encounters, which will... there's these things called encounters, and they vary from what they actually are, but it's stuff like assault on a stronghold, which is just killing a leader, that stronghold. There's things like virus research, so you have to activate these different things in a certain amount of time, and these different you have to activate these things a certain amount of time, and like you're seeing it in the background, and there's a big building, and it's like a maze, and you have to kind of find where it is. Sometimes they are really hard, but I found towards the end that a lot of them had a really long timer, so it was kind of really hard to fail them. So there are also water treatments encounters where you need to get the water going and defend it until the water is fully restored. So you wait for that one. You have to switch on the water and then defend the water, and then you have to hit valves as well, or the water pressure will explode the pipe and you'll fail. But again, the timer is very reasonable and it's almost impossible to fail those. These all reward you with building materials for your base to fully upgrade each area. And the areas are electric, medicine, and security. Once these are fully upgraded, they can produce crafting materials for you to collect, as well as unlock new skills and talents, as I said earlier. And talents are just passive abilities. Crafting is something you don't really have to worry about until you're around level 30. And crafting, you can get blueprints for weapons, attachments, and gear pieces. There's also something you can do which is called recalibration, which you can take your high tier weapon and recalibrate it to where you have a different talent, and that talent will improve critical hits or skill cooldown time and or movement speed and reload speed. So there's just, you can recalibrate so you can really mix and match and make a proper build for what you want. With that said though, let's actually start talking about the end game of the Division. There are multiple things you can do to start off. There's the Dark Zone, which is where you and other players can go rogue and fight each other, but it's also where you're going to be able to find the best high level gear and weapons in the game, as well as some of the hardest enemies in the game. They're also very challenging because at any moment you can lose all the items you've gained in the Dark Zone because you have to extract them. And this is because the Dark Zone is the contaminated area of the map where the virus is still alive, so you have to extract them, and then they'll be in your Dark Zone stash, and then you can actually use them. But one thing to note is weapons you get from doing landmarks in the Dark Zone don't have to be extracted. They automatically go to your inventory. And landmarks are just kind of little areas where you just clear out all the enemies in the Dark Zone. So overall, that zone, the Dark Zone, is just a harder area for you to do. And when it comes to the Dark Zone, you actually have to think about your builds. You have to make a good PvP build if you're expecting to go across a lot of rogue agents. Or you have to make a really good PvE build because the enemies are super strong there. Next, there are different daily missions, as I talked about a little bit earlier. Each day you'll get a new mission to do on a certain difficulty, so it's usually harder challenging. And these reward you with combat crates that you can open to get a high rank gear item or weapon, or both in some cases. There's also a whole PvP mode called Last Stand, but this was part of the Season Pass, so technically it's a DLC. And from my experience, it's basically dead, but it's just TDM. I'm sure there's a few other game modes, but all I got was TDM. These also have their own crates around them, but they don't reward you with anything crazy. There's certain things that are locked behind the last man standing crates, but it's nothing insane to where you need to grind this TDM mode. There's also the northern and southern piers on the west side of the map. These have a survival kind of mode where you'll fight endless waves of enemies. These are fun and were added as a post-launch update. There's also weekly and daily combat assignments where you have to kill a certain amount of people or use a certain weapon or skill.
Alert.
These reward you with more
Contamination
crates,
scan
which you
initiated.
can open for higher items and gear. Uh, One thing to know as well is the Dark Zone has its own leveling system, which will unlock different things you can buy from the Dark Zone trader. To get the Dark Zone coins, you have to do bounties, which are other players that go rogue, and also from doing things in general in the Dark Zone will just earn Dark Zone credits. There are also Phoenix credits, which you do from the weekly and daily assignments as well. These unlock highly exotic and rare blueprints and weapons themselves. There's also Cosmetic Vendor, where you can get premium cosmetic keys, which you can either buy with real money or earn in-game by doing different activities and hitting certain milestones in the game. These reward you with different outfits as well as weapon skins. One more thing I would like to talk about is the collectibles. There are multiple collectibles such as crash drones, phone calls, echoes, and survival guides. The majority of them are kind of boring except for the phone calls and the echoes. Both of them just build on the lore of the world and give you a background into random people's lives who were going through the events leading up to the end of New York. But with that said, I'm going to give my overall rating of the game, which is going to be a 9 out of 10. I think Ubisoft did a really good job with this, and everything just works really well. I do prefer this one over the second one because the world itself just feels more alive and is overall nicer experience in my opinion. Now into the two DLCs. I didn't talk about the two DLCs I didn't talk about because I talked about Last Man Standing. But there's survival DLC. So your helicopter crashed and you have to extract, and you have to worry about the cold and hunger and thirst. And you also have to worry about other players and other NPCs trying to kill you. There's not much to talk about this DLC. It's dead at the point you can't find a match whatsoever. But it's what it sounds like. It's just a survival mode where you have to extract. I'd rate this DLC a 5 out of 10. It could be great, but it wasn't supported enough after its initial launch. Therefore, it ended up dying, and now Dark Zone is the only area where you can really find players. Next off is the Underground DLC. This DLC is for endgame, and it's just different missions you do to get these different crates, which unlock higher endgame rewards. I'm sure there's more to it, but in my opinion, it was just a lot of not really put together missions where you just get meaningless rewards. These rewards could be good, but by the time you're endgame, you don't need any new loot because you already have a build and it's working great for you. I'd rate this DLC out of 2 out of 10. I did not enjoy it whatsoever, and it just did not seem fun. Overall, though, the game is still really good. The game itself I would give an... What the fuck am I trying to say? The game itself is still an 8 out of 10, as I said. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you guys want to see on the channel in the future. Thank you for watching this Road to Platinum video. I hope you guys enjoyed that I kept it longer and it was a little more in depth. But yeah, with that said, stay safe out there. Peace out.